Public Works Supervisor, Parks and Grounds Maintenance Worker, Parks and Grounds Crew Leader, Water Maintenance Worker 1, Water Maintenance Worker 2. Please visit the Equal Opportunity area on the Haslet.org website to apply. Item number 3.2, the City of Haslet general election will be held Saturday, May 4th, 2024, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. for the purpose of electing one City Council member place 1 and one City Council member place 3 and one City member for place 5. All terms are for 2 years. Applications for a place on the board will be accepted beginning 8 a.m. Wednesday, January 17th, 2024, until 5 p.m. Friday, February 16th, 2024. Item number 3.3, the annual Easter egg hunt will be held Saturday, March 23rd, 2024, 4 p.m. at the Haslet Community Park. And we have a very colorful brochure that's listed, I'm sure, on Haslet.org website. It's a lot of fun for the young kids. 3.4, all city offices and library will be closed Monday, February 19th, 2024, in observance of the President's Day holiday. Item number 4, consent agenda. Item number 4.1 is discuss, consider, and act to approve the December 12th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. And item number 4.2, discuss, consider, and act to approve the January 9th, 2024 special meeting minutes. And then item, yes, ma'am?
Number 3, I needed to add one item, please. The Volunteer Appreciation Dinner will be on April the 6th at Heritage Baptist Church. Hopefully y'all can save the date. Invitations will be going out and asking for your RSVP. Thank you.
All righty, and that's April the 6th, Saturday. All right, thank you. Okay, item number 4.3, discuss, consider, and act to approve the HCEDC Financial Report for December 2023.
I have a question. I was looking at the financial report, and under operations and maintenance, it says there is it's the personal property insurance. It says there's a $77 entry, and I was just wondering which property that would be for, or is there more forthcoming? I was just wondering the breakdown on that. There's an attachment further on down with the numbers, but there was no entry for the 77, and I was just wondering what this would be. Anybody have any idea?
I don't know specifically specifically what property it is, but I'm sure there's more coming because the budget is 1,200, but I can check on that and give you a feedback.
Okay. And I hate to be nitpicky, but there's an item on 120 Main Street for $4, and it said on the attachment, it said DCAD, and I'm assuming that's Denton County Appraisal District, just some leftover, something that didn't get paid. Is that true, what that stands for?
Yeah, that's just a correction. I think
Okay.
they undercharged and then they went ahead and it was just an adjustment.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, any other comments or concerns on the agenda or the minutes as presented?
I'm so sorry. My eyes didn't get further down the page. The under professional services, the legal fee, $425. Do you know what that covered? Does anybody know what that was used for?
I know we used Jeremy, our city lawyer, for I think selling the properties and also the lease income issues we had. we used him to advise us and like stuff
Okay.
like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any other further questions? Okay, if not, then I would ask for a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the HCEDC Type B 12th of December 2023 minutes, the special HCEDC Type B 9th of January 2024 minutes, and the HCEDC Financial Report for December 20 of 23.
Do I have a second? I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, item number 5, reports and presentations. The least income report. Mr. Swanky?
Nothing specifically to report on it, but it appears like they've all paid their rent.
Very good. Thank you. And then 5.2 EDC report.
Yeah, Chairman and members of the board, I'd just like to talk about a few things that are going on that impact the economics of the city. At the location of Harmon Road and Haslet Parkway at our Planning and Zoning Commission, we're going to be looking at a site there for a future quick trip fueling station. And we have not only a zoning case from agriculture to a general commercial, but we also have a site and a landscape plan that have been submitted, and also a preliminary plat. So they're getting very serious about that. Hopefully, they'll be submitting a final plat, final construction plan. They have pretty much all the preliminary civil plans already done for them. Additionally, just south of the and this is not on your report, just south of the 7-Eleven over on 156, we have a preliminary plat that's being done right now, and it'll also be at the Planning and Zoning Commission. And there's a new business that wants to move in there. So they're going to develop another site at that location. And we still keep getting inquiries and a lot of tire kicking along 35 and also 156. So there'll be, I'm sure, some other announcements that'll be upcoming in the near future.
And so could you tell us again, where's the location for the new business interested close to the 7-Eleven?
Yeah, there's a scattering of buildings to the south of the 7-Eleven. There's a little strip center where I think Latera Cafe is at. And then there's some other buildings in there. And so there's a lot of leave-out spaces, and then there's the southern end of the track. But up towards the northern end, just south of the Sonic area, there's a new business that wants to go in. So they're doing all the groundwork right now. I don't know what the business is, but they're doing all the platting work for it right now, the preliminary plat and civil plan. And there's a lot of things that needed to be worked out for that. Entrances into the site, future water line extensions underneath the railroad track that loop everything. So they've been working diligently on that, as well as preparing a TIA, a traffic impact analysis on that. There's a lot of things that are going to be going on at that particular.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Swanky?
I have a question regarding under the miscellaneous, some of the dates. It mentioned, and if I've jumped ahead or something, I'm sorry, hold on. It mentions on there, there's a couple of entries for 12/6, and on 12, and then there's an entry on 1/8, but I believe the interviews were completed by the commercial realtors actually on 12/6, and a decision was reached at that same day rather than on 1/8/24.
Yeah, that's not the decision-making date. That's when the report where those things have been added to this list. So it has nothing to do when they were officially signed or done.
Oh, okay. I just thought there was a verbal decision reached on 12/6.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it also has on 1/8/24, the HCEDC board has interest from potential buyers on properties on Main Street. And so I was just wondering if that was accurate.
Well, I think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Swanky? Thank you. Thank you. Moving to item number 6, discuss, consider, and act regarding all properties. I believe we'll be taking that into executive session. So we'll bypass that and go on to number 7, discuss, consider, and act regarding a Haslet business directory. Katrina, I think what we want to do is have this on our next agenda going forward. What I have learned is we have 3 people who have signed up for that committee, and it was defined last meeting as Laura and Tricia and myself. And we will just be a working committee. We will not be making any final decisions or recommendations. We'll just be working toward bringing data to the full board for any vote. So we'd like to just roll that forward to next month. Item number 7. Oh,
I'm sorry. I was wondering if we went back to item number 6, I wanted to mention, I believe it's 201, 156. Isn't that my time?
we don't want to mention anything about that
Well,
in
I was-
open meeting.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, I visited the restaurant and it was raining. And you couldn't even get in the door. I think you were with us. The water pours off of the roof. Awful. And I mean, you couldn't even get in the door without getting drenched. And I just think as landlords, we're managing that property. And I think there either needs to be a strip of gutter there, or there needs to be some sort of a water diverter added, because I feel like, I mean, this could potentially impact the business. And I just feel like as landlords that we are responsible for the building. And I also wanted to mention, as landlords, I know there's been reviews and such conducted inside, electrical and so forth, but as far as the roof goes and as far as the air conditioning system, I feel like we need to have those 2 items examined. And I was looking in our budget, we do have some budget in that assigned for maintenance. And I just thought perhaps with the summer we had last year and potentially the summer forthcoming this year, I felt like the air conditioning system needed to be checked out. I think there was a contract on the house on Main where they used to have regular service on the AC, and I'm just not aware of, the ongoing maintenance for the restaurant. So maybe that's already being taken care of. But like I said, as a responsible landlord, I feel like we need to have the roof checked out, and I feel like we need to have the air conditioning system examined. And that's just my opinion.
Okay, Mr. Swanky, is that something that you could look into for us? Okay, very good. Do we need to take a vote or any action on that? Pardon me?
Not if we don't have a price quote or a company to, include in the motion.
Okay. Got it.
I was just wondering though, if you had a little diverter on the roof to shoot the water elsewhere from the door, that would really be a very inexpensive fix. And I don't know, I was thinking that there's kind of a limit where we'd have to go out and get bids, but if you just it's just a strip of metal that would just go cover that area. And I mean, it may be a couple $100 at the most, I would think. So I don't know, would we actually have to go out and get bids on that? Does anyone know?
Yeah, perhaps not. That's one of those things where there are no customers coming into the front door. It's all delivery at this point. They're using the rear door to service. So it's not like we were over there for a special purpose, and and it was raining, and I'm sure it was very bad here last couple of days.
The door was unlocked and that, so I just assumed customers could go in the front right.
Mr. Swanky, there are customers going into that restaurant. There's no dine-in. People come in to pick up the
Okay.
I would like to see us take action to place some sort of a water diverter on the roof, if anybody's for that or something. I just am concerned that that affects the business.
And another thing, Mr. Swanky, I know on another property we do have an HVAC maintenance contract. So one of my questions is, do we have an HVAC maintenance contract at the Mai Tai location?
I'll find out all.
Okay, we do not. Okay, then, okay. All right, well, maybe that's something that we want to look into, setting up, some type of inspection, because I'm not sure when that maintenance or last inspection took place, and we would like to have that done fairly soon.
Is it possible that the same provider who was servicing the home could be checked with to see about servicing the business?
Yeah, we can check into all those things to see if if somebody's doing the residential, will also do commercial.
Okay,
That'll just have to be a question.
okay. I would really like us to take action on the diverter before the next meeting, if that's possible. And I realize the board may need to approve. Thank you.
Okay, can we at least have that listed on the next agenda, Katrina? To have the HVAC system inspected at the restaurant and have the diverter over the front door to remove the water flow coming down. And if we need to go out and get bids, I mean, if we need to contact some companies and get that set up, I'd be more than willing to do that.
HVAC contract with, that's easy, but I don't know. Preventive diverter, I don't know. We don't have just like a company that does a roofer. We don't have one necessarily contracted or on call.
I'm sorry, I think we could probably manage.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on any of the property locations, maintenance issues? If not, we'll move on to item number, we discussed the business director, 7.1. We'll move on to item number 7.2, discuss, consider, and act regarding tennis court shade structure. I'd like to talk through a presentation for the board's benefit. If Colton, if you could show us some of the pictures that I had sent you earlier. Let's go back to the red. Oh, okay, if you can put them to double screen, that's perfect. The committee talked to a number of different companies. We received information from Sun Trends Incorporated, from Tennis Supply, from Par Through, and from Tennis Express. And we looked at a number of different designs of tennis structure covers, cabanas, that would work with our particular tennis courts, which have a light pole, as you see on the picture on the left-hand side. And what we determined was the best thing would be, instead of purchasing 2 tennis covered benches, that we go with 1. And so the design that we chose, we thought would be the best, is a bench that you see on the right side, which is a double-sided seat bench that has a back cover, and it is a surface-mounted design, and it can be built around the existing light pole. We looked at other designs, but this was our favorite. We also looked at a flat bench. We looked at a bench that had a table ledge, but we collectively agreed that the tennis bench with the backs would be the best. We ended up getting a price for 1 bench, which would be a 10-foot long cabana cover. The bench itself would be 8 foot long. The opening that we have between the short fences and the light pole on the tennis courts is 6 foot from the light pole to the fence. So doubling that, we have a 12-foot opening. And this bench, being an 8-foot bench, would allow for 2 feet between the bench edge and the existing fence to be able to pass through from court to court without modifying anything on the tennis court whatsoever. And that was an objective. We really didn't want to have to modify anything. We tried to find something that would work with our current design. And so what we ended up getting an estimate for is a price with a cutout in the canopy to accommodate for the light pole, and a cutout in the bench structure for a price of $4,565. We also received a freight cost to have this shipped from Denver, Colorado. We chose the vendor Sun Trends Inc., who is in Denver, Colorado. Freight, which would include a lift gate at time of delivery, which is important because this structure is going to weigh 540 pounds. So we're going to need a way of getting it off the truck and on the ground. And that freight cost is $846. So if we place the order today, that totals $5,536. If we want to go with a custom canopy with a Haslet logo, that could add a few $100s extra, but that's something yet to be determined. Certainly, we could do that. James, I'm glad you're here because I wanted to ask your opinion of what we are presenting now, and also your assistance if indeed Public Works would be able to assemble the structure once we receive it, because we did not factor in any installation cost, so to speak, as of yet. We've been told by the manufacturer that it's going to take 2 to 3 hours of assembly time, but it basically is a bolt together structure and not very complicated. So with all of this, I, as the board, would ask for a budget of $6,500. I think that would cover all the cost. But James, I do appreciate your opinion and like your comments.
Thank you. No, I think this is a I think what y'all decided on is a perfect solution there. The only question I would have is on the width of it. They did leave usually about 4 feet on each side of it on the original, and I wonder if that was any accommodation for any kind of ADA compliance. So that I'm not 100% sure of. 2 foot would be adequate, but not if you had to get a wheelchair through. But I don't know that there's any actual requirement there. It's just something to have as a consideration. The companies I looked at, they did not offer the double backed with the center support cut. But if that company verified they would, then that's fantastic. I think that is the ideal version of it. And as far as for assembly, delivery, we can handle unloading. Lift gates are wonderful if they can. If they can't, we can provide a piece of equipment with forks to unload it. And we can absolutely assemble, and the direct mount will be very simple. On the one that y'all looked at, does it have I know it has the cutout, but does the canopy split, or do you have to lift it over the light?
No, I think the canopy splits.
Okay.
And you just wrap it around the pole, and then it either has eyelets that you
Yeah, okay.
string together, I believe.
Okay, well, yeah, that is perfect. I've no doubt that we can handle the installation of that without any problem whatsoever. And that was really my only comment, is these seem like from all the companies that these are mostly drop shipped from the same manufacturer. There's just multiple entities selling them. They seem nearly identical from all the companies across. So I think this is the absolute solution to end up with, and that was really my only comments, is the potential ADA compliant. And we would have to research that further to know for sure.
Yes, I don't know what the width is that's needed between the bench and the fence, but we do have a gate on each fence, if that would supply the need for a wheelchair to go through from one side to the other.
And I think it most likely would. Those rules vary, and they're very specific sometimes. Like I said, if I knew the answer right away, I would give it. But it's just I think we'd be safe either way, and I have no issue with that solution. We would absolutely support it.
I think if we had an issue with the distance, then we would be easier to move the fence and to change the size of the bench at that point. And I don't think it'd be a big deal to move the fence back a foot and a half, 2 feet. If we had to.
I think that'd be a fair assessment there as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, if indeed this is a project that I think the board had decided that we wanted to adopt, I would like to make a motion to ask for budget approval of $6,500, adopt this project, and go before the city council at their next meeting for approval to proceed. The backlog on this item runs anywhere from 10 to 14 weeks. So we're looking at early May before the item would be available to us to be installed, which might be perfect timing as we begin to go into the hotter months in the summer. I would also like to go before the Parks Board at their next meeting if I get council approval, and give them a presentation of what we decided to move forward with. So I would like to ask for a motion to move forward with this as a project at a maximum budget of $6,500 to be able to go before the city council for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item. Discuss, consider, and act regarding ways to secure our property located at 105 Highway 156 North from cut-through traffic. And we have some pictures to share with the board. As you can see, there are tire tracks that are going off of Hurley Street and flowing directly over to Mr. Jim's restaurant. You can see the gully that are being made, especially in the rainy weather, how it is tearing up the property lot. And so I believe, James, you have some information to address the board with?
I do, thank you. We had looked at a few contractors to help out with a solution, and we had come up with a plan of just basically posts and chain link that separate them, so it would just be a deterrent for vehicle traffic. We had two different contractors provide quotes. One did not provide a complete quote. It only included the site work, but not the actual chain, and that quote was more than this one. So the one we have to present to you here is, the description they have is they're going to use either 2 3/8 or 3-inch posts, and that's really depending on availability. And then they're going to be using a 14 gauge quarter-inch galvanized chain between them all, and they're going to leave accommodations for an access where you can unclip to get anything in there to mow and do that kind of work. In addition, they've provided two different options for ground covering. So the request, I think, was to look into buffalo seed or buffalo sod, but his original quote, he suggests only using basically there's a lot of different trade names. It's often referred to as fast grass. It's a mix of a lot of blends. TxDOT uses it on projects. The intent is to get grass to grow as quickly as possible, and ultimately Bermuda will come in and choke out the other variety. So that is his suggestion, but he also gave options if we want to seed with buffalo grass or buffalo sod. He did say that in his experience, buffalo seed is really not an option, that it takes as much as a year or two to actually germinate and sprout. So sod would really be the only way, and it's typically cost prohibitive, but he did provide a cost there. So to cover 3 sides of it with 10-foot spacing on either 2 3/8 or 3-inch posts, they'd be put 2 foot into the ground with 3 foot above, and a 1/4-inch chain draped between them, which would be a deterrent for vehicles traffic through there, would be a total of $12,613. And then in the event that you wanted, in lieu of the other type of grass, if you wanted buffalo sod or seed, buffalo seed would be $2,394 additional, but that really isn't an option, and he would not warranty any kind of growth on that, just because he said it is very unlikely to actually take hold in any length of time that's going to be noticeable. And then the buffalo sod is $7,293. So my suggestion would be to use a TxDOT blend or the equivalent, commonly referred to as fast grass, and let the native Bermuda take over that. The quote also, in addition to just the fencing around there, that includes some grading work. That says they propose to import 20 cubic yards of topsoil to level up the lot. There's a small amount of gravel. They will spread that out low enough, and the added topsoil will cover any of that. They will plant a winter mix of seed if it's done now, or if not, the equivalent. And then they'll install an above ground sprinkler with a battery operated controller, and then leave it there until typically about 70% is established, and then it would be removed. So that is the quote we have, and we feel comfortable with that as a solution to keep traffic through there and return the site to something flat. So regrade topsoil, and then post a 10-foot spacing with drape chain between.
A question?
Yes.
613, is that for the soil, the
That's-
grass?
Yes, that's for a complete option with the winter mix or a TxDOT equivalent blend, not the buffalo grass.
Okay. That's
So
a
that
turn-
would basically
turnkey.
flatten off the entire lot, and then it'd be roughly 12 bollards around it. It'd be done on 3 sides, so it would not include the side between the east lot with the house there. It would just be the other 3 sides, and it'd be set at the right-of-way line, so it won't be at the, it'll leave a gap between the sidewalk and wherever the right-of-way line will be, it'll be set there. And then that's really just to keep deliberate traffic off of there. It's not a barrier beyond that.
And that was the least expensive that you were able to come up
Yes,
with? Was the
any
12
kind of
cents?
like welded pipe would be way more. We didn't look further into that. He could offer that as an option as well, but we feel like for what the purpose is, that since it's a semi-temporary need for it, this would cover to keep people out of it and keep that looking nice.
Is that type of fencing approved by our ordinances?
I would have to check to make sure if they would consider it as an actual fence. Morris, do you know offhand if that would be a?
We'll have to investigate that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know right away. Given the intent, it's not meant as a. So there may be an allowance for that.
Okay, I read through the ordinances and I wasn't really able to determine that, so I was just, okay.
Yeah, like, this is unique. We wouldn't use it in, the equivalent of a playground or something like that. But for this specific use and given the type of lot it is, it seems like a suitable option. We also looked in the possibility of cable, but their recommendation was the chain provided better durability and less complications with just people stepping on it, moving, it causing issues there, just as a danger.
Would it be able to be unhooked at
Yes.
each?
They're only
at
going to
each
leave an
side?
allowance at basically the driveway entrance for mowing, but I don't think that'd be an issue. I don't think it would add any cost if you wanted additional, connection point.
What I was going to ask too, because if there's a clip on each
It'll be locked. Yeah.
chain, whoever is driving this, I mean, he's moving our portable block now. All he's got to do is unclip it, drive the truck in and clip it back.
Yeah, the intention is just to leave accommodations for a lock.
Okay,
So
okay,
it's meant for. I always say it's meant to keep the honest people out. I mean,
sure.
if it became a issue greater than that, we would have to look at something a little more robust to cover that. But
Is the purpose of leveling it is to make it easier to mow?
I think it was a combination of aesthetics and also just there's such a mix of gravel and it would be easier to mow. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I don't know what purpose we're gonna be using a lot for, but if it just sits there with ruts in it, it wouldn't bother me, but if it really looks that bad, and we need to level it, then I guess that's.
And I'm somewhat surprised at the cost that you're quoting. In my mind, I really didn't think the ruts were that deep, and just a matter of a half a truck of topsoil brought in and spread out in the rutted areas, and some grass seed would satisfy, I think, the aesthetics of what we want that lot to look like. I think grass seed might take hold, especially if it's Bermuda. So I'm just somewhat amazed at what the cost is that you're providing.
Sorry to keep asking, but does the city own any equipment, a big tractor with a bucket, that they could scrape this and level it up a little bit?
We do own equipment that could do all those things. Yes. If that was something that we were tasked with and they would like us to do, then we're capable of doing some of that kind of work.
Do we have a quote just for
The fence?
the fence part?
I don't have it itemized down here, but I can get that. If you'd like, if this plan is the one you'd like to go forward, we can try to get some competitive quotes, make sure we're getting a good price on this. We're trying to do this with somebody who will do the entire job turnkey. We could go through fence companies direct if it's just fencing that you'd prefer to concentrate on.
Do we have a water spigot on that lot?
There is a water tap, I believe. It should still be active. There's no active meter, so there would have to be a meter placed there, but I believe there still is an active tap. The quote here either was to utilize a tap or utilize the existing fire hydrant. So they would most likely have just connected off the fire hydrant with the hydrant meter and then watered the lot there until it was tapped.
Would it be possible for you to get a quote from the city, actually using the city's equipment and some topsoil and seeing what that would cost us without the fence? Just to kind of smooth it out and everything. And also I was wondering, since there's no meter there, would the board be responsible for putting in a water meter?
Typically, there has to be some accountability of the water, so it has to be metered in one way. I'm not sure if the city would pass on a cost for the water to this board or not. That'd be something I would have to look into.
Okay.
And I believe that provided there's still a tap, it would have already covered the cost of the impact for it, so I don't think there's a cost there. If it's not, then there would be an impact fee, but I believe it's already been handled with the original business that was there, so there should be a tap, and we would just have to set a meter, and they could choose to waive it or not.
Just a point, usually when highway departments get the grass established for MUTA, there's no irrigation systems.
Right.
And so that's all you gotta do is get it, so when it's started, it's growing good.
Yeah.
When it's extremely hot, it'll go dormant, and then it'll come back. So you really don't have to have an irrigation.
Yeah, they quote it as our typical, anytime we disturb something or we have a water line project goes through, they put the fast grass or the equivalent down, they put temporary irrigation or water by truck, and when we get to 70%, they pull it all loose, and then nature just kind of takes over.
Does the city own a water truck, or is that subbed out?
We do not. On this one, we would, if it was us doing it, we would set up temporary irrigation as well.
Okay.
Either just water cannons, or I believe they were going to do PVC pipe and just temporary sprinklers.
Okay.
And a battery controller, so there's no need for power. They just put, it's batteries that run the zone.
Okay. I would like to have, if you could, by the next meeting, let us know what it would cost for some topsoil and the city actually doing the level, and perhaps maybe without the grass.
I think the grass seed is something you're going to have,
Okay.
because when that's stripped down, it'll be an erosion issue. So if we were to level it down and strip all the surface grass on there, you would need to either put erosion control back up or plant grass.
Okay.
So I feel like, but I don't think for the size lot that's a grass seed is not a significant expense.
Okay.
And then, so you said you'd like a quote for us to do that. We'll try to get some competitive quotes on the other ones. And do you want us just to itemize the fence portion and the grading? And we'll probably just get some local fence people to quote the fence just all by itself.
Okay.
And then we'll see where that goes. Sometimes it's harder to find somebody to do it all, but we can look at it a couple different ways.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Would that give you enough time for the next meeting to
believe so,
determine what
yes.
the cost would be if the city did some work? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just see if that's something that would entertain, and thought I can get you a cost for it.
Okay, and I also want to discuss another deterrent that we might consider. What we want to do, and Colton, can you put a copy of the letter on the screen?
In doing a little bit of research, just to give you some background, just to take some baby steps to try to help with this situation, I've done a lot of research, and if you post no trespassing signs, that's supposed to deter people, and that's also could be a Class B misdemeanor, and it is in the penal code. If you actually issue a letter, and then of course if you go the steps further in putting up a fence or something. So anyway, I was just doing some research to see about the cost. Thank you.
Okay, and this letter is just a basic form letter. It advises the perpetrator who is damaging your property to be advised that they have no right, either expressed or implied, to be in or on at any time whatsoever for whatever purpose the property located at 105 State Highway 156. corner of Hurley Street and Highway 156, Haslet, Texas. Should you not adhere to these wishes in this matter, the undersigned City of Haslet Economic Development Board, HCEDC, will have no choice but to pursue all remedies that are available by law, including criminal prosecution for the defiant trespass. You are specifically advised pursuant to Texas Penal Code 30.05, criminal trespass, defiant trespasser, that you are not licensed or privileged to enter or remain at the address located at 105 Highway 156, Haslet, Texas. In the event that you attempt to enter the property at 105 Highway 156, we will give the undersigned management, owner, occupant no alternative but to exercise their rights under the law. You have been warned. Being so advised, govern yourself accordingly. As it appears from the tracks, it looks like Mr. Jim's traffic is either his employees, or his customers are doing the damage. You can see that from the roadway of where, and if you show a picture closer up at the end of that lot, Colton, another one, you'll see there one more. I thought there were several on 4 emails, but there were multiple pictures on the email. Okay, on one picture you can see damage right at the back of Mr. Jim's lot, where the mud is following the pickup truck that's parked there. I don't know if you can zoom in at all and give a better view of it, but you can see where that track is going. So as a deterrent, we would like to send a letter of no trespass. We also would like to post no trespass signs on 3 sides of the property, one on the Hurley Street side, one on 156, and one at the opening of the adjoining property with Mr. Jim's. And our hope is that this will become a deterrent, that further damage won't incur as we continue to look at a solution that is more permanent.
If you could, Colton, I've sent in some pictures of no trespass signs, and I have the cost of those signs. I wasn't able to figure out how to put the cost on there after I copied them. These are at Home Depot on their website, and the first one that you see, it says no trespassing. It's in black and red. It's a 10 by 14. It's an aluminum sign, and it's $3.47. And the sign next to it, the blue with just notice no trespassing, it's an aluminum sign. It's 10 by 14, and it's $21.74. And the sign private property, no trespassing, that's a plastic sign. I don't know that that would be what we want to do, but it's $16.74. It's a 14 by 10. And the one to the right that's white and red, it says posted private property, $3.47. It's aluminum. And then the one on the bottom left, private property, is $3.47 also. It's 10 by 14, it's an aluminum, and the one to the far right is $25.99, and it's a 12 by 12 aluminum. And then the post, I don't have a picture of the post there, but there's a 4-foot Everbuilt, it looks like a T-post, a green T-post. It's green steel, and it's $5.98. So I don't know what, I thought perhaps that would be the first step that we could take to try to deter some of this and see if we can, keep the traffic off the property and the continuation of the destruction.
I've got a question. That is the feed store that we're seeing, that big white building. Is there any chance that they could be doing the same thing, cutting through that lot to get to that back door on the feed?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very possible that a variety of people use it for several reasons. One, it's a means of bypassing the light. So if you're leaving Mr. Jim's, you're at a crowded light already, so it is problematic to get into that traffic and out. So just for speed, I think it'd be impossible to know for sure each person, but I imagine it is a combination of customers and probably delivery drivers and
So we might, if we decide to do that, no trespass letter. It would be for,
Mhm.
to cover our base.
And then if one other suggestion, if I may, is if you want the signs up and they're gonna last for any length of time, I would suggest something thicker than what they offer at Home Depot. We've used those for a variety of things. They're very thin and they don't last very long. We typically have to even back them with something else. So if it's gonna be something you expect to be out there for years or at least a year, I would probably invest in something on like a sign grade, and those are gonna range $60 to $80 a sign. But they would last. They're going to be on the same equivalent of what we put stop signs on. We could get an exact cost, but that's just would be a suggestion.
And maybe a suggestion too.
Yes, that's not a high dollar item, so obviously we would want to look at the higher quality, I think.
Mhm.
So do I have a motion to proceed with a letter and the purchase of signs?
I was wondering if you wanted to do one step at a time, do the signs, and then see what happens, and then do the letter, or if you want to go ahead and just do both at one time. Either or.
I think we ought to put both companies on notice that we're not pleased with the damage that's occurring to our lots. And if they have any control to influence it, either their employees or their customers, it does not hurt to give them a letter.
I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with purchasing 3 no trespassing signs. I don't know if there's a preference to the ones that y'all want, but anyway, sorry, I'd like to make a motion that we purchase 3 trespassing signs and 3 posts, and that we also move forward with issuing a letter.
Okay, I have a motion and I have a second on the floor. I'll call for a vote, please. All those in favor? It's unanimous. We'll get with city staff early next week, Katrina, and have this put on city letterhead and drafted and sent out. Yes, James, could you email me the purchase cost? We have money in our budget for maintenance items, and I would consider this a maintenance issue, so it's probably going to be under $200 as an estimate. Does that need to go before the full board to be voted on for approval of a budget to be spent? Yes, we definitely have that much in our
I mean,
budget.
you have that already allocated in the line item for that property, so that shouldn't be a problem. I was just referring to, like, if you need the city to purchase that. Right.
Do you have a source, James?
Yes, the city usually uses a local company for signs. Did you have a specific, there were several types of no trespassing there. Did you have a specific one? And we may ought to look to see if there's one that's legal over another one. Some signs have to be very specific to be enforceable. We could look at which one is most appropriate that could be enforced with some legal measure.
Just so that he can get a commercial grade, and he
Yes.
has a lot of knowledge. Plus, we need to be able, whatever we purchase, these purchase tax exempt, probably, with the vendor we already.
Yeah, we typically utilize Roadrunner, traffic, and it escapes me. They're just off of 820. They're relatively close, and their turnaround time is relatively quick.
Okay.
Do we have like a city code, no trespassing for?
If we did, it wouldn't necessarily be enforceable by law. I would have to be. they couldn't enforce it if it was an ordinance alone. Code enforcement could do something, but not necessarily the sheriff. They don't typically would enforce an ordinance directly. So it would have to be a state no trespassing they could attempt to enforce. But we could look into seeing which one is most, like whatever design is most enforceable.
Would you get with the sign manufacturer and see, which of those signs perhaps would be the least expensive and whatever would meet code?
Yeah, I will. Typically, it depends on they have engineer grade and then high intensity prismatic, which is reflective. You probably wouldn't have to have that, so it'd be a little cheaper. Like I said, for the reference, for a 30 by 30 sign, we just purchased one at $60 and some change. So I would expect them to be no more than $60 a piece, hopefully a little less.
Okay, so do we need to amend the motion to include an expenditure of up to $200 for the signs? Or? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the letter of no trespassing, as well as purchasing 3 signs that the city staff will order and take a look at to make sure that they meet code. And the city staff will handle this
With a budget of not to exceed $200.
with a budget of not to exceed $200.
Do I have a second? I'll call for a vote. Those in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving to item 7.4, discuss, consider, and act on for the HCEDC to contract for direct legal representation. I would open the board for discussion on this topic. Does anyone have some comments?
I think the board actually does need legal representation in that. So I think that's critical, and to make sure that we, abide by and get the best advice of moving forward and what we're doing.
I would agree. I was taken back to find that we were a separate corporation and were not under the city council and the lawyer that represents the city itself. And so it's my opinion that the easier way to get representation is to go before city council and ask for the contract to be amended to have our board, the HCEDC board, economic be added to the contract, so that we can have some direct direct representation by the city lawyer. Anyone else have any comment?
I think we discussed last meeting that, and had an opinion that that will not represent conflict of interest, and that would be the easiest route to take.
I do believe it would be the easiest route to take. So, do I have a motion to go before city council?
I'll make a motion that the council be approached to approve and consider providing us with legal representation.
Do I have a second? A motion, and I have a second. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Correct. Type B, board. Item number 8, executive session. I adjourn the open meeting at 7:05, and we will move into executive session. Thank you. I open it up at 8:43 p.m. There are no actions to be taken out of executive session, so we move to number 10, consider an act regarding items to be placed on the next agenda. Do we have any items that we want to place on the next agenda?
I believe James was going to come forward with some additional quotes for the fencing for us and the landscaping and I think the leveling.
Any other items? Okay, then the meeting is adjourned at 8:44.